Should women over 50 go to the gym? Is lifting weights good for older women? I want to share with you the evidence about gym going for older women, whether you're in your 50s, your 60s, or like me, in your 70s. Will you injure yourself if you start going to the gym in your 50s? When are you too old to start going to the gym? I have the answers for you based on scientific studies. I'm talking about going to the gym, but what I'm about to share applies if you're wondering about working out at home or going to a class that involves using weights. I'm Thriving Jane. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert. I just like to read the scientific research about what works. Then I like to share it with you. On this channel, I offer you research-based factual information in a way that's easy and quick to understand. It's all referenced in the video descriptions too. It's honest and trustworthy. That's what you're looking for, isn't it? As people get older, they tend to get less active. They often feel it's time to take it easy. They may feel they're active enough because they walk a lot and look after their garden. I want to show you that all of these ideas are wrong. Yep, wrong. Understandable, but wrong. We'll look at what the evidence shows, and then I'm going to help you understand what sort of programme you should follow. And really importantly, I'm going to share with you the number one reason older women find the gym boring. It's an easy mistake to make. One simple change can turn your gym sessions into something much more interesting, and that's a promise. Don't worry, it's not complicated. It's actually very simple. I'm going to use the phrase go to the gym, strength training, weight training, and resistance training. They all basically mean the same thing. You're working your muscles harder than you normally would. This means that over time, your muscles get stronger and you get fitter. Perhaps you were fit and active when you were younger, but feel you've let yourself go as you got older. Or maybe you're more like me and hated all things to do with sport and fitness when you were younger. I want to tell you that exercise is a really important part of your plan to age well. But don't just take my word for it. Let's have a look at what the research says about working out when you're older. The advice from experts is very clear. The US National Institute on Aging says, almost anyone at any age can do some type of physical activity. You can still exercise even if you have a health condition like heart disease, arthritis, chronic pain, high blood pressure, or diabetes. In fact, physical activity may help. I love this quote from an assistant professor of geriatrics. A lot of the symptoms that we associate with old age, such as weakness and loss of balance, are actually symptoms of inactivity, not age. I hope you're enjoying this video. Please like, comment, share and subscribe. It helps me to know that I'm sharing with you information you find useful and valuable. So what exactly should you be doing? The World Health Organization website sets out recommended activity levels for different age groups. If you're aged 18 to 65, each week you should do at least 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity, or at least 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous intensity aerobic physical activity. So that's things like walking or running or dancing. The US Centers for Disease Control give a simple way to establish if you're engaged in moderate intensity exercise or vigorous intensity exercise. What they say is that in general, if you're doing moderate intensity exercise, you can talk but not sing during the activity. In general, if you're doing vigorous intensity activity, you'll not be able to say more than a few words without pausing for a breath. If you rely on walking and gardening for your weekly exercise, could you sing while you're doing it? I don't mean just a few lines. I mean, all the time while you're doing it. If you can, it doesn't count towards your weekly 150 minutes. The WHO goes on to say that if you're between 18 and 65 years old, you should also do muscle strengthening activities at moderate or greater intensity that involve all muscle groups on 2 or more days a week, as they provide additional health benefits. That's weight training, strength training, the stuff you do in the gym with weights. What about if you have a chronic health condition such as high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, HIV, or you're a cancer survivor? The World Health Organization advises much the same as if you don't have these conditions. Chronic health problems are definitely not a reason not to exercise. What about if you're over 65? This is what WHO says, same as for adults under 65. And as part of their weekly physical activity, older adults should do varied multi-component physical activity that emphasises functional balance and strength training at moderate or greater intensity on 3 or more days a week. This is to enhance functional capacity and to prevent falls. The WHO are advising more activity if you're over 65, not less. This extra training helps to keep your core strong as you age, reducing your chances of having backaches or falling. It will help keep your bones strong into old age. Basically, if you're an adult, you should be doing muscle strengthening activities at moderate or greater intensity on 2 or more days a week. This applies whether you are 21 or 91. Now, you might be thinking, you can't work out like someone in their 20s or 30s can. This is ridiculous advice. That's right if you're thinking about how far or how fast you can run. It's also right if you're thinking about how heavy those dumbbells or barbells are. Most people will not be able to lift heavy weights like someone much younger. Although, like me, you may get a surprise at just how much you can lift. But we're not talking about the heaviness of the weights, we're talking about your effort. A study looked at all the research that had been published in the last 5 years on strength training for the elderly. For the purpose of their research, they defined elderly as over 60 years. Yeah, I know, I've been elderly for 15 years. Muscle mass can be increased through training at an intensity corresponding to 60% to 85% of the individual maximum voluntary strength. Improving the rate of force development requires training at a higher intensity, above 85% in the elderly, just as in younger people. So it's a bit complicated. So what they're saying is that you can increase your muscle mass if you train at 60 to 85% of your maximum, but better still, train at 85% of your maximum strength. So it's about effort. Putting it simpler still, current research shows that older people benefit from working out as hard as younger people, although the weights they lift will be lighter. Remember, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you, it doesn't lead to the improvements that you want to see. But it's not just about physical health. Many people find that exercising improves their mood. Scientists have found one of the reasons for this. Physical activity may help to turn on genes within skeletal muscles. This can then influence the key metabolic pathways that ultimately promote mood-enhancing chemicals within the brain, which help you to feel happy. The problem is that as we get older, our skeletal muscles tend to deteriorate. We feel more fragile, and we can end up doing less. This deterioration of our muscles influences those metabolic pathways, meaning that fewer happiness chemicals are produced. Fewer happiness chemicals means it's more of a struggle to be happy. Keeping your skeletal muscles strong not only strengthens your back and all the other good physical things, it helps to boost levels of the feel-good chemical serotonin. You definitely want that. Are you afraid of getting dementia? Someone in the world is diagnosed with dementia every 3 seconds. Recent polls suggest that dementia has become the most feared health condition among people over the age of 50, even more than they fear heart disease, cancer and stroke. Researchers at the University of Sydney have shown that strength training in older people protects some regions of the brain from shrinkage. They believe that lifting weights should be a standard part of dementia reduction programs. Oh, and don't forget, strength training reduces those pesky bingo wings. Maybe it's worth doing strength training just for that. I could go on and on about all the benefits of weight training, but I think by now you understand that weight training is not a no-no as you get older. If anything, it's even more important than for younger people. So what should you do? Many gyms will give you a program to follow, or you could work out at home following an online video. If you want to work out at home, I recommend HasFit. They have hundreds of free workouts online. They include ones for people just starting out without any equipment or experience. And they also have workouts you can use if you're already fit. Have you tried the gym and found it boring? Or maybe it just didn't work for you. I hear that a lot. So many people say that to me when I talk to them about how much I enjoy lifting weights. The main reason this happens is because you're using too light weights. If the weights you use are too light, you won't see progress. If you don't see progress, why would you continue to do it? But how do you know if the weights are too light for you? Many women go to the gym with a friend. The first clue that the weights are too light is if you can talk to your friend all the time that you're working out. You should need to concentrate on what you're doing. If the gym going is more of a catch-up session with your best friend, you won't see improvements. If you don't see improvements, the gym can become very boring. After a few weeks of that, you're going to start wondering why you don't just meet up in a cafe and catch up over coffee and cake and not bother with the gym at all. The second clue is if you're using momentum to do most of the work for you. You swing light weights backwards and forwards. After a few sessions like this, you decide that the gym doesn't work for you. It's boring and you aren't seeing any improvement. You need to lift heavy weights. Before you get scared, what I mean is heavy weights for you. What is heavy weights varies from person to person. Does this all sound a bit vague? Let me see if I can do better. In general, for most exercises, you'll do 8 to 15 repetitions of the same weighted movement. That's called a set. You'll do 2 to 3 sets, resting for 30 to 90 seconds between each set. For example, you repeat a movement with weights 10 times. Then you rest for 1 minute. Then you do another set of 10, rest for a minute, and then another set of 10. Then you move on to another exercise. That's fairly straightforward, but it still doesn't tell you what weights you should use. Choose a weight where the last 1 or 2 repetitions of any set are hard. You couldn't do any more correctly. Take a look at these people. Can you see how they're all swinging the weights backwards and forwards with total ease? They aren't working hard. Looking at them, it feels like they could do 50 in a set, not 8 or not 8 to 15. Doesn't it look boring? That's the number one reason older women find the gym boring. The weights they lift aren't enough to challenge them. And to make progress so that you gradually increase the weights you lift. Maybe you'll end up like me, curious about how much weight you can actually lift. You can also make progress by shortening the breaks between sets or increasing the number of repetitions in each set. It's so satisfying when you start to make progress, both during your gym sessions and in the rest of your life. Your body becomes more toned. You may experience that wonderful, "oh, I didn't know I had muscles there" moment. You're not going to get big and bulky. I lift heavy weights, but I'm not big and muscly. Your body may look more in proportion as your shoulders get straighter and a little stronger, and your belly gets more taut. These are exciting things to happen to you. You'll also find day-to-day jobs so much easier. You may find yourself running upstairs with ease and being able to lift heavy shopping, or your grandchildren if you have them. You may be able to start sitting on the floor again. There will be things that you never thought you would do again that you will be able to do again if you lift weights properly. But all of this only applies if you put effort into strength training and you do it at least twice, preferably 3 times a week. I get great benefits and joy from lifting weights. I post short gym videos on Instagram to inspire older women to become as passionate about weightlifting as I am. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, share and subscribe. It means such a lot to me.